Paul arrived in Corinth, a bustling city known for its trade, culture, and diversity, but also for its moral challenges. Positioned strategically between two ports, Corinth was a melting pot of ideas, wealth, and vices. For Paul, this wasn't just a stop on his journey, it was a place of opportunity. The city, with its mix of Jewish and Gentile populations, provided fertile ground for spreading his message. But Paul didn't enter Corinth with fanfare or wealth. Instead, he came as a tentmaker, someone who worked with his hands. This wasn't just practical, it was intentional. Corinth wasn't a city where a man could preach without first earning respect. So Paul found work with Aquila and Priscilla, a couple who shared both his faith and his trade. Paul's days were filled with the hard labor of crafting tents, measuring, cutting, sewing, and assembling fabric for travelers and merchants who needed shelter. But it wasn't just about the work, it was about connecting with people. His tent making allowed him to meet others on equal footing, not as a distant preacher, but as someone living the same struggles they faced. After the day's labor, Paul's real work began. He would head to the synagogue or the streets to speak. His message wasn't filled with elaborate words or theatrical gestures. It was straightforward, grounded in truth, and delivered with passion. Leadership for Paul wasn't just about delivering sermons or speeches. It was about doing the work, both physically and spiritually. He wasn't above the people. He was among them. He understood that real influence came from living the same life, facing the same challenges, and showing that his actions matched his words. The work in Corinth wasn't easy. The city's reputation for immorality, mixed with its fast-paced, trade-driven culture, meant Paul faced rejection and resistance. But rather than giving up, Paul saw every obstacle as a chance to grow stronger. The more difficult the road, the more determined he became. He also knew that leadership wasn't about doing everything alone. He partnered with Aquila and Priscilla not only in work, but in ministry. Together, they helped build a community, bringing people together who shared their values and faith. Paul's leadership style was empowering. He lifted others, giving them the tools to lead alongside him. It wasn't just about Paul's voice. It was about creating a chorus of voices that could carry the message even further. As the months passed, Paul's influence in Corinth grew. It wasn't just the message that resonated. It was the way he lived it. His leadership wasn't just about speaking well. It was about showing up, day after day, even when things got tough. Paul demonstrated that leadership is about resilience, about continuing to move forward even when the path isn't clear, about finding strength in the daily grind of both physical work and spiritual mission. Through his time in Corinth, Paul's legacy began to take shape, not as a preacher disconnected from the people, but as a leader who understood that true leadership is found in humility, hard work, and persistence. His story teaches that leadership isn't about position or status. It's about the ability to inspire, to unite, and to overcome challenges together. The real work of leadership, as Paul showed, isn't glamorous. It's often in the small, unrecognized moments where consistency and determination make the biggest difference. And that's what sets Paul apart as a leader who didn't just talk about change. He lived it.